leader of the scorers chart, and the games have gone pretty well. We've seen some exciting matches. We've also seen some lower teams. A Comoros Island, which is not more than the size of Lagos Island, is qualifying ahead of Ghana. So, I mean, the surprises are there, the disappointments are there, and it looks to be a competition that we all should be happy with.
Okay. Looking at the tournament, Remy, this is where I come to you. A lot of people have said that making it a broad 24-man tournament instead of the previous 16-man tournament, 16-team tournament. Now, a lot of people are saying that kudos to CAF, the likes of Comoros Island, like you said, and also Guinea-Bissau trying to prove a point at the tournament. Is that a way forward, looking at the size of CAF confederations?
Thank you, Chimeze. I think it is the way forward. Let us also bear in mind that FIFA is also considering expanding the number of countries who play at the World Cup. The benefits cannot be overemphasized. Firstly, we would not have seen the likes of Comoros. And not only that, we would not have known that Comoros can actually qualify for the next round. Now we have the likes of Gambia and Malawi also qualifying. And this is a tournament that originally used to have about 8 teams playing. So it was basically just having your quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. Now we have the opportunity to see more countries who can actually feature their players. And we have so many players who play in different leagues in the world. It's the opportunity for them to showcase their mettle and skills. So kudos to CAF. We've seen very good football. We've seen very good individual display. And we've seen that you can actually market the game and make it bigger. And of course, if FIFA is considering it, there must be some commercial value. And it is about time CAF should actually implement some of these initiatives for the commercial value, for the value for development of football. And that is what we are seeing at AFCON.
Okay.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, Remy talked about the commercial value football brings. The more expanded a competition becomes, the more money for the organizers. You will see that the Champions League, the European Champions League itself became quite expanded over the past few years, and it's more money for sponsorship, for advertisements, and for jersey makers and all those things. And also, as he said, there's an opportunity for the so-called lowly rated teams. For example, you have a Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau boasts of a player who plays fantastic free kicks, and this is something that is coming on the throes of the known names of the likes of Ghana and Tunisia and Morocco. But then you will see that what football has done is that the lower teams have closed up on the bigger teams, and it's become more and more difficult. I wish you saw the game between Egypt and the second game they played. I think it was Guinea-Bissau. He had to take a dubious, what looked like a dubious penalty for Egypt to sail through that game. So it's really good, and kudos to CAF.
Okay, now looking at the tournament again, a lot of people expected a lot of teams to perform, like Algeria, that were on winning streak, 35 matches. It was remaining 3 matches for them to beat the record of to equal the record set by Italy, and in fact, they had to score a goal at the tournament before they were bundled out of the tournament by former champions Ivory Coast. Because if they had won that game, they would have remained in the tournament. Maybe Ivory Coast qualifying as the best losers in that group. But looking at that, Algeria out, Ghana out. One a powerhouse from the North America and a powerhouse from West Africa. So how is it progressing with the tournament like that?
Well, I think it also speaks to what we talked about earlier, that when you give other teams the opportunity to come on board, then they can showcase what they have. Nobody ever considered that you would have a round of 16 without Algeria or Ghana. As a matter of fact, I had listened to a press conference where the Ghanaian captain, Ayew, was being interviewed, and he had said they were going to win their last match and qualify. But what happened in that game? They actually lost. And so Ghana, for the first time, they're out of the tournament at this early stage. They have the players, they have the mettle, they have the legacy, they have the experience, but they were not good enough in this tournament. Algeria, the same thing. Previous winners, they have hosted. North Africans have always been good at the African stage, not only at the national level, but also at club level. So you find out that there was no reason not to expect that Algeria would not be in the next round. But here they are. The best they could do in this tournament was to earn a draw. And worse to that is they were only able to score 1 goal. So you have Algeria out, you have Ghana out, 2 previous winners, 2 heavyweights in African football, with all the players playing at home and in Europe, and they're out of the tournament. So it makes the tournament more open, and it also shows that the other African countries, if they can develop football and put in more, who says they cannot qualify for the World Cup in the nearest future?
And what that speaks to me is the radical development in football over all the parts of the world. If you look at the Euros that were played last year, you'll see the likes of Switzerland, you'll see the likes of some of these Eastern European countries, coming into the fray and getting into the knockout stages against big names. So you'll find out that names don't play football again. You will find it surprising that you've got an Algeria who's out, you've got a Ghana who's out, and both of them are playing the last round of the World Cup qualifiers. And, what that speaks to for me is the fact that when you come to a competition of the status of the Nations Cup, and it is win or lose per match, I think people just come to die on the pitch against anybody. You find an Algeria that boasts of a Riyad Mahrez, one of the best players you've got in the Premiership, and you will see the ease with which he swings in the Manchester City shirt. And when he came to the African soil, all was just not going well. And he tried to make all the runs and all that, but it's just what it is. Football has become a level playing field for everybody to catch up. So it's quite interesting.
I think, in fact, further to that, we also need to talk about the lackluster performance of the Ghanaians. So it's one thing to be eliminated from a tournament. It's another thing to have such a lackluster performance that it would even have been unfair to other teams for them to have qualified. Well, sadly, they're out. It's not so good for the tournament when the big teams are out, but it's testament to what CAF has done in expanding the tournament. And it also shows that the other teams are coming up, they're performing well, and they're getting their tactics right. So maybe Ghana will now go back and focus on what they can do, the World Cups, subsequent tournaments, and they have to reconsider their
absolutely. And I think for Ghana particularly, I think a renaissance and going back to the drawing board has become necessary.
Definitely.
Ayew has been playing for about 15 years. I don't even know which club he plays for.
He plays for Saudi Arabia, club in Saudi Arabia.
Arabian club. That is not to diminish, the Saudi Arabian league, but then it's unfortunate because honestly, throughout the match, I couldn't make any. I didn't see anything significant impact, Ayew brought to the game. His younger brother, who plays for Crystal Palace, I think, also, was just there without any color. I can count on the tips of my fingers how many shots he had at goal. I think it's time. And one of the things going on for teams like Nigeria is the fact that you boast of a progression of your youthful talents from the under 17 through the ranks, and that we'll talk about later when we're coming back to see the Super Eagles and their performance. But for Ghana, who has also boast of a heritage of development of talents from the youth rank, I think it's quite disappointing that you cannot lay fingers on a progression of a core of the success stories they've made through the age grade competitions into their national teams. And you will recall that the match they played against South Africa in the qualifiers was mad.
I was about coming to that because
perhaps it becomes a testament to the fact that perhaps Ghanaians or the Ghanaian team was not good enough to have progressed to this stage of the World Cup qualifiers.
And talking about not being good enough, I believe that team has been stagnant a bit because looking at Ayew, their star man, you can't make a 32-year-old who is playing in Saudi Arabia your star man in the team. And the likes of Christian Asu, and if not for Thomas Partey, who plays for us now, he's the only big star. Ayew, you mentioned Jordan Ayew, who in over 20 matches scored 1 goal for Crystal Palace.
Absolutely.
So Ghanaian team has been stagnant. And recalling a coach, they sacked over 10 years to come and take over. I don't think that it's time for them to go back to the drawing board. And also, let's talk about another team that have fumbled, but they were lucky enough. They've gathered 5 points to progress to Senegal. Before the tournament, they were everybody was afraid to play Senegal.
Absolutely.
But it's like the first game against Zimbabwe, it was just a bit of luck that they got the penalty in the virtually the last kick of the game, and the other 2 games ended in draws, and they have only been able to score 1 goal.
I mean, it's from a Nigerian perspective, it's good for me. Apart from Algeria, Senegal was another. I mean, both of them played the last finals of this competition, and Senegal boasts of the likes of Sadio Mane, this defender from
Koulibaly,
and So you'll find that looking at their progress from the last Nations Cup till now, they've kept the core of that team that has gotten to the finals of that last competition, and unfortunately, perhaps I don't want to call it stage fright or competition fright, but then this is the big stage, and footballers, when it comes to the big stage, that is where your football has to speak for you. Unfortunately, it is not speaking for this Senegalese team, and honestly, I cannot get my head around it. It's unlike a team of the status of. I mean, and they have their coach who was their former player who also coached them at the last. What's his name now?
Aliou Cissé.
So you start to wonder that what is happening to a big team, and it might just be one of those things that happen in sport. Perhaps they've reached their peak. What do you think, Remy?
Well, I think one other thing I've noticed, particularly about the likes of the Nations Cup, now the difficulty of playing in the Nations Cup, many of the players who play abroad get to realize it when the game starts. I mean, when you look at the
physicality,
it is very physical, and that is extremely tough for the players. Secondly, is that you have a player in the mode of Mane who is doing extremely well in Europe. He's one of the top-rated players in Europe in terms of goal scoring, in terms of so many things. But he looked like he wasn't even present, even in their first match. At some point, I was wondering whether he was playing from the left or wasn't he playing too deep. So sometimes I think the players, it could be psychological. Sometimes the players need to realize that if you're not in Liverpool, you probably are not playing the same style of Liverpool. So it is about time for all the African players, when you come home, you harness your skills, you harness your tactics, and probably listen to the coach. I'm not saying they didn't do that, but I couldn't see that element of class like we had expected from a Mane, because we all know what he can do.
Right.
But the team lacked color. And it could also be that he's so much of a leader that they were looking up to him, and there wasn't much he could do. And we could see that in Mahrez as well. We could almost see the same failure in the Egyptian team.
Right.
So it means there's something very wrong, and I expect that going forward, some of the coaches and the teams will look at better ways to work around some of these things. And you can, when we look at the Copa America, for example, you can find out instances where it is very difficult for a Brazil to play Chile.
Absolutely.
And it is extremely difficult for you to win the Copa America. So
I mean, for a Messi to just be winning it once in the last 10 years.
So I mean, it's exciting for football lovers that you can't really predict. And in Africa now, it is becoming clearer that more teams are coming on board. And if you can eliminate Algeria and Ghana, who would always be favorites on your books before a tournament, it means you have the opportunity to do better. Right. But Senegal, well, they have the opportunity to progress now further, but then I hope they will be able to hold their own.
And for teams like Senegal, who has got the pedigree, in the last couple of years, they could grow into the competition such that once they scale through the second round, they may become more and more difficult to beat. And it might be the same for Cameroon. I always say that immediately after the likes of Roger Milla and the
Samuel Eto'o,
the team that beat us in the 2002 finals in
2000
in Lagos, you will find out that they faded, and very recently you find a resurgence of a sort with their captain, who seems to be their talisman, and with every match they win, they grow in confidence, they grow into the game, and the fear factor, comes with every other team that they meet. So we could hope that Senegal grows into that formidable team that they've always been.
Yes, and for most competitions, the key thing is to try and win your first game. Whatever you do not lose your first game. And for a host country, the first match they started struggling, but then they were able to get the right results. And for the other teams that are out, they had a very bad first game. So when you go into your second game with a lot of pressure, and you're playing under so much pressure that you're likely to lose. And we saw that with Ghana, we saw that with Algeria, and Ghana needed a very good result in their final match, and they couldn't get it. So I think when you speak about Cameroon, I think that's one of the first things they did. They got a good result in their first match. They were not playing under pressure, and by the time they got into the third match, then they could play and bring in other players, and of course with the Nigerian team as well, which we can then talk about later.
Okay, and also another team which looked like they have struggled also is Egypt. Yes, they have only scored 2 goals, one from Salah and the other player. And looking at Egypt, they just got 2 points, 6 points. That's the 2 games they won. And in the first game, it looked like they will overrun Nigeria. No one, in fact, 70% of Nigerians never expected a draw from Egypt with the Super Eagles. But it turned out that the magic happened. And looking at the way they play, it's like Egypt too, they are struggling in the tournament.
Oh yes. The Egyptians struggled. And I think one of the things we need to give to the Nigerian team is that whilst we at home tend to look at our team and expect so much, every tournament, the Nigerian team is always a team to beat because you do not know what to expect from them. And we started this team with relatively new players. So most coaches coming to the competition will realize that we don't really know so much of these Nigerian players, at least as a team. We do not know the tactics. We don't know what to expect. They're coming with a new coach, so we don't know what to expect. But then we had a team that played quite well. We were able to hold our own, and the Egyptians started to struggle. And the moment they started struggling with Salah, he wasn't able to get the balls. I knew the Egyptians were in trouble. Good enough, they've been able to qualify, and I think they may still spring a surprise and go further. But I think they've probably realized that if they do not come with their best foot forward, they are going to lose in this tournament, and they probably might even lose in the round of 16. But kudos to them. They've been able to, at least in favor of predictions, they've been able to qualify. Salah has another opportunity to at least show that he's able to show leadership to his team. Otherwise, it will be a whole big disappointment for them. And he's been able to score, so that's fine.
And, for Egypt particularly, the Nigerian game was going to be a big game. It was a big game because it was Egypt and Nigeria. Permutations were going on and here. In fact, our friend Larry Feshola was sure that there was no way Salah would not be fouled for a penalty. And we were expecting a big game on our hands. And this was a Nigerian team that didn't come with starman Victor Osimhen. So one would have expected a tight game. But as the game grew into 20th, 30th minute, it was apparent that, in all facets of the game, the Egyptians were not matching us at all. And once that Salah factor was out, I think virtually all the players became jaded. And, once Salah dropped his head, the team dropped his head. What's the coach's name? Queiroz had no other options. And more worrisome for me was the next 2 games Egypt had to play. It was a big struggle to even nick passes together. It is different when, you could say that, yes, they're superior in terms of play to an Ethiopia, to a Sudan or to a Guinea-Bissau. But then they didn't have that superiority at all. And that is an Egyptian team that may be going to the World Cup. It scares me going to the World Cup that the African continent may not be going with a good crop of representatives.
Well, so anyway, we're hoping that the 5 who would go will be our best, and they will actually showcase what they're made of. And of course, as the World Cup expands, Africa will be able to get additional slots. But I think the Egyptians are still a team to watch because they've been able to qualify. And so let's expect that we'll still see some good football. But like you said, against Nigeria, we underestimated ourselves, and it turned out that we played so well, and we were able to hold the Egyptians. At some point, they couldn't even go forward. They had no direct shots at goal. They were confused as to what to do. And it means that our team, as usual, has remained unpredictable. A very difficult team to read. And we need to give kudos to the players for their commitment, and of course to the coach as well.
Okay, you're still listening to AFCON update on Lagoon Sports with Anosike Chimeze, Gbenga Bello, and Remy. We'll be back after this short break. We'll concentrate on the Super Eagles and also give you a rundown of the groups, how they qualified, and also the fixtures for the knockout stages. Keep listening to us. We'll be right back.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Super Eagles check it, we are back again. See my boys, them tapping on the pitch again. We don't come, we don't run, make them clear the way. West Africa, so now we they throw the blade. Them been they underrate, but now we dominate. So now we they set the pace for them to emulate. So we they tap, we they score, and we they dribble. Them they fall, and we they shoot, we they push, we they show them. Them they fall, and we they. Walele, where you do? Walele, my brother, where you do? Walele, where you do? Walele, my brother, where you do? Walele, Obi Mikel, captain, where you do? Walele, Iana Chokele, where you do? Walele, Ogeyana Z, Rogedo, where you do? Walele, Ahmed Musa Speedy, where you do? Walele, Wilfredo, Ndidi, where you do? Walele, Ojo Igalo, where you do? Walele, Loose Boy Victor Moses, where you do? Walking on Alexi Obi, where you do? Walele, where you do? Walele, my brother, where you do? Say walele, where you do? Walele, my brother, where you do? Walele, you wall, where them be? Ali on Balogun, where you do? William Truth, a Congo, where you do? Ataki Moses, Simon, where you do? That's in nature, you too much. I'm not lying to say you too much. Okay, character, attacking machine. Ikechuku Ezenwa supercar. Adanya Yakbe, where you day? Olaluodi, I know Joel Obi. O Michaela go Gabriel Okechuku. Ajoni Ogu Junior Ajayi. Kenneth Omero Uchago. Akali K may get well soon. Tyrone Eboyi, I day with you. Anthony Wake met Francis Uzoho. I was him Chigoze Stevens. Brian Ido versatility.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Yes, this is Lagoon Radio, and you're still on to AFCON updates on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Diocese of Lagos. We are transmitting live from the Archbishop's Palace right here in Marina, Lagos. To listen to us directly, download the app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram and Twitter, Lagoonradio.Ng. Also listen to us, www.LagoonRadio.Ng. I am still here, Mr. Cardinal. Yes, Gbenga Bello is here, and Remy Durojaye. We are all here giving you all the latest, all the updates coming from Cameroon. And yes, it was a group of 6. The boys, like you know, have been separated from the men. And let's give you a rundown of how it finished in all the groups. In Group A, Cameroon 7 points, Burkina Faso 4 points, Cape Verde 4 points. Another surprise of the tournament. A lot of people didn't know what Cape Verde were capable of doing. And Ethiopia finished last in that group with 1 point. And in Group B, we had Senegal 5 points, Guinea 4, Malawi 4 points. And Zimbabwe finished with 3 points. And in Group C, Morocco, another favorite, they finished 7 points. Gabon, 5 points. Comoros Island, 3 points. And Ghana finished with 1 point. In Group D, where we have Nigeria, the only team that finished with 9 points in the tournament, and it's a history for Osine Guavon. He was the first Nigerian coach to finish with 9 points in the group, and Egypt 2006, and he did it again in Cameroon 2021. And Egypt finished with 6 points. Guinea-Bissau 1 point. Sudan 1 point. And in Group E, it was Ivory Coast 7 points. Equatorial Guinea 6 points. Sierra Leone 2 points. Algeria 1 point. Group F, the last group, we had Mali with 7 points. Gambia 7. Tunisia 3. And Mauritania ended with no points. Yes, that's all it is in that group. Okay, let me come to Bengabelo. Looking at that, the group rundown and also the way it fared. So what do you have to say generally on that group, on the groups?
On the groups generally, I think it's a mixed bag of surprises and teams who we expected performing. For performing teams, we will definitely talk about Nigeria. Nigeria lived up to the billing, of course. We were a top-rated team in Africa, and beating Egypt was the icing on the cake. And I think the other two matches were just a walk in the park. For other groups, looking at Cameroon, favorites as hosts, they also lived up to their billing. No surprises at all. For the team that has Ghana, Comoros for me is the standout team. And for a team that came without colors, without pedigree, debutants, and qualifying ahead of Ghana is a no mean feat for them. And of course, you have also Gambia. Gambia is the debutants as well. Gambia is a name I've been hearing in Africa, and I would thought, having gone through World Cup qualifiers, you would never have believed that this is the first Nations Cup, and they've done well to get into the round of 16.
Oh, definitely. I think this tournament has been a tournament of surprises, and we know that you don't play football on paper, you play on the pitch. So you can come with your array of stars from everywhere, and if they are not able to perform on the pitch, then too bad. And of course, you have the team that has been able to hold itself out as the best team so far, as the Nigerian team with 9 points. Good enough for Cameroon. They were able to do 7 points. They've been able to secure the top position. And of course, when you're able to secure the top position, it gives you a better opportunity that you play a team that comes second or third in your round of 16. So I think the tournament, like you said, when we look at the likes of Comoros and Gambia, not only did they qualify, they actually played good football. So for me, that's the exciting part. So you come with relatively unknown names. And when I say unknown names, this is not to downplay the pedigree of their players, but you don't have their players listed as the top 3 in the world, the top 5, the top goal scorers in the world, but then they're doing so well. So for me, it makes it exciting for any football fan to be able to go to a stadium and say that you have matches that can bring people to watch. Of course, sadly, a number of people have complained about attendance at some of the match venues. So I believe CAF will have to do something about that. But if there's a tournament where it is likely that Comoros will give Ghana or Nigeria a run for their money, then it will attract more people to come play. And I'm so happy about this tournament, and we look forward to a fantastic second round. Definitely the best team in the tournament will most likely win this tournament. And of course, we expect that it will be the team in green, white, green.
Okay, so we won't forget to also mention teams like Ivory Coast, who came so far so good for them, table toppers in their group. They have there's some unpredictability about them as well, because you've got a Wilfred Zaha who did not start the 3 matches, and he came in one of the matches. In fact, he got some yellow card, and the pressure of performing is also on him. You've got Mali. Mali most times they've always been the African potentials. They always have this team that has the likelihood of beating any team, but they just lack that final cutting edge that will take them into a fight. I think the best they've done when they hosted was getting into the semi-finals and playing the third place. I don't even think they came third.
They lost. Nigeria
actually beat them. So but they topped their groups, and of course they're one of the teams that you will be looking up to get into the last 4 of this competition. They came just ahead of debutants Gambia. So this mix of expectation from the teams that we believe are top on the ladder in Africa against the likes of Comoros, Gambia, and the rest of them gives us a fantastic blend of something to look out for, in the closing stages of the competition.
I think even sorry, Chimeze, I think even going to the next round, what it means is that for all teams that have qualified, beware.
Absolutely.
Because you are only 90 minutes away from being eliminated. So beware, come with your A game, put in your best, and most likely you'll be in the next round.
Okay, let's look at the highest, the goal scorers and the tournament so far. We've had only one man being outstanding, and the last time a player finished 5 goals in the group stage, he was a Cameroonian. Now the Cameroon FA chairman is like he handed over the crown to his brother.
I think, to be fair to Vincent Abubakar, before this tournament, yes, he's the leader in the team. This is not his first tournament. He's almost like one of the older players. I think he's done very well. I wasn't expecting that he would perform this well. Some have even said that he hasn't played so well. But then the game is all about goals. And if you have a player who has scored 5 goals, he's leading. The next player to him is I think, is on 2 goals.
3 goals, Ibrahim Akone of Mali.
So you would expect that most likely he may go home with the golden boot. Not forgetting that in these tournaments, you really don't have so many goals being scored. And I think he's done so well. He's practically scored in all his matches. At some point, it was expected that he'll be retained in the game to give him the opportunity to score a hat-trick in 2 of the games. But to be fair to him as well, when he was substituted, of course, he was still happy, unlike what some other players would do. So I think he's done well. 5 goals is no mean feat, particularly having scored all the 5 at the first stage, at the preliminary stage. It is really, really difficult. Someone like an Eto, yes, who would equally score 5 goals, but then you see that it's for the duration of the tournament. The Camerooners are not really known for being a high goal scoring team. But when you have a lull between an Eto and Abubakar, it means that, yes, you still have to pay him the respect that he deserves. 5 goals is no mean feat.
And also, looking at other players like Ibrahim Akone, who scored 3, I think all 3 were penalties. When you talk about Mali being able to beat anybody, and also 2 goals. And one exceptional thing about this tournament is Nigeria have scored a total number of 5 goals, and they are from different players. And this is where we'll come to the team Nigeria in particular. Coming on to the tournament, all of us expected Osimhen would be the star man that will lead the line. But the injury came on, and now we have nobody we are looking up to in that team. But I think some players have really performed. And also, let's look at how Guavon has managed that team within a short period of time.
So, for me and for the Nigerian team, it's a question of the fact that perhaps we ourselves are the heaviest critics of ourselves, and perhaps it is what we needed to have spurred us on. We were coming into this competition. Remember, Remy, just 3 weeks ago, Glenn Raw was sacked. And, Guavon's name just came up. And honestly, I think we mentioned it at that time that, look, this is not a good time to sack Glenn Raw, even though he wasn't performing. And, having a change of personnel going into a competition as big as the Nations Cup wouldn't work for the team. But hey, I think we must give kudos to Guavon, and I don't know how he's done it. First and foremost, I think I've seen a Nigerian team for a long time. I think the last I saw a Nigerian team, showing pace and confidence to go forward. I think the last time I saw that was the game we played against, the friendly we played against Brazil, where we matched Brazil toe-to-toe. Since then, and, incidentally, it was raw. Since then, I don't think I have seen that Nigerian team that will go all on the flanks, through the middle, your fullbacks all going forward and coming back at the same time. So I think the first thing I think Cerezo must have done is to bring confidence, is to bring belief into the players. That, look, guys, I am coming here not to teach you how to break the ball or to tap to yourselves or how to head. No, but there is something about you guys, and I think that is showing. Also, there is an X-factor player now. And I think he's probably after Vincent Abubakar, it will be Moses Simon. Moses Simon, in fact, we saw a joke that appears that somebody said, hey, he just put up the mask of Simon and it was Messi. you know, him coming, apart from the fact that he displayed a fantastic composure against Egypt. If you look at the game where he came in, the last game we played, where he just came in, the potency in how he maneuvers himself into the box, and once he gets into that box, it is almost sure that something is coming off that move. It's something that I really think that, look, we must credit Eguavoen for. Eguavoen also equaled his own record, winning all 3 games, groups, like he did in, I think the last time he took us to the Nations Cup.
Egypt 2006.
Egypt 2006. So for me, I think it's a resurgence that we should be proud of at this stage. Remy, what do you think?
Oh, yes, definitely. And like you said, we came into this tournament being our own biggest critics, and for good reason. We were coming without the coach who'd been with us for years. We're coming with a new coach. We're coming to a tournament without being able to test the coach or the players in competitive games. And we're coming, shockingly, to a tournament without Victor Osimhen. And of course, we're not going to have an Igalo.
Right.
And so we felt, who would actually be in this team? We're also coming into a tournament where some people had questioned why you would not have local players that you probably would have seen. And Eguavoen's reasons were like, there was no time to test those players. So we came with a lot of mixed emotions, so to speak. But as Nigerians, we still expected that we would deliver. But I'm not sure anyone expected 9 points from the group stages, particularly since our first game was going to be Egypt. So the permutations were already rife that, look, Egypt, we could struggle to get a draw and try and win our 2 other matches, or win 1 and play 1 draw. And here we are, standing with 9 points. As a matter of fact, the only goal we conceded was via the
Penalty.
foul by Aino,
Right.
and which cost the penalty and the goal. Otherwise, we would have come to the next stage without having conceded any goals at all. But then to also go to Eguavoen, because I listened to one of the things he had said, and that, look, the players take him as a father. They know he's played the game. He's been a captain. He's won the tournament. He's played in the World Cup. So that's some form of mentorship. And he said he speaks to the players. He tries to get the idea on what style of play suits them. I don't think many coaches do that. As a coach, I wouldn't do that. I would simply go with what I believe is the best formation. But he says he's been doing that. He also talked about his support staff, that he does not look at them as being insignificant as far as the team is considered. So even if you're in the medical team, then you're still part of the team. So irrespective of whether you're coaching the team in the technical capacity or otherwise, if you are informed, then you should be there. Secondly, if you're part of the team, then whatever you contribute, even when it comes to the players' diet, then everybody's working together. So I think you cannot really fault Eguavoen because he has delivered results in the first 3 games. And we hope the team will not be complacent, and that as we go into the next round, we would actually be able to deliver. And like Chimeze said, we've actually had as many people score different goals. I would have expected a Kelechi Iheanacho to have 2-3 goals, or an Awoni to have 2-3 goals. But you have goals from different teams, and those are the kind of teams that are actually very difficult to play against. Because if your goals can come from different players, then who exactly is the target person? That means we could conveniently have played without an Awoni or a Kelechi, and the goals would simply have come. Secondly is also that the joker of having a Simon means that there's so much difficulty that the defenders need to put on him. And you still have the dangerous player in Kelechi. You still have an Awoni with his physique and his bulk. You still have, what's the name of our number 10? Aribo. You still have Aribo. Then you have a defender like Ekon who can come in and score the goal. So you would always be confused as a team regarding who exactly are we playing? Who exactly should we mark out? So, I think the best is yet to come for the Eagles.
And also, one good thing that, as you know, we should be proud of is the age grade competition and the infilling of those young guys, you know, from that. You had an Inwakali. I mean, Osimhen would have been there. He's from that, you know, crop as well. You had a Kelechi, you have Wakali. Yes, and you find out that these guys, you know, through their under 17, there has been a natural progression. Some of them played under 23 as well. Even Awoni. So you will find out that look at Nwakali's pass that resulted in the goal against the last one against Guinea-Bissau. Already he's becoming a mold of your Aribos, and there's this Ejuke guy as well, also Chukwueze came from that rank as well, from the under-17 rank.
Yes.
So you will find, as Remy said, that the unpredictability of who to mark out for teams is going to be a problem, because conveniently we have two teams that could match any of the teams I have seen in this competition squarely, and then will produce almost the same result. So it's a fantastic thing. The only fear I have for this team is actually off the pitch already. And, Nigeria comes with a mixed bag. In the time of Keshi, I hear Keshi's letter was being written when we were playing, letter of sack was being written when we were playing the Côte d'Ivoire game. And right now, we are beginning to hear in the press that Eguavoen is not entitled to salary, he's only entitled to bonuses. For me, these are distractions I don't think anybody will need at these critical stages. So
sure.
my only fear is managing issues, administrative issues, not so much of the technical issues on the pitch. And I think that's just our Achilles heels.
Yeah, definitely. I think this also shows that we should give some kudos to the FA, and for them to have been able to coordinate the transition from Raw to Eguavoen and to still maintain or keep the bulk of the team. I understand that the CBN governor had actually informed the players that, look, some people may not agree and say that we're paying too much attention to football, but then, well, the players have earned it. You have $20,000 for each goal scored in the preliminary rounds, and so they have about $120,000. And he also informed them that in the next round, for every goal you score, the naira equivalent of $50,000. And he also informed them that should they win the tournament, someone in the private sector, I think he mentioned his name, but someone in the private sector had promised that should you win the tournament, you have $250,000 naira equivalent. So that's well over 100 million for winning a tournament, apart from the goals that you have to score. So they already have all the incentives in terms of financial, which has always been a problem. So you can see that nobody is talking about match bonus for the players, because they're already getting cash benefits from the private sector, from the government, and from people like that. The only thing they need to do is go to the pitch and play. We've not heard of any ego problems. We've not heard of any cases of indiscipline. And whilst I still have a few concerns in the midfield, and whether the midfield would not tend to lose control or possession of the ball easily, but then up front they're doing quite well. At the back they've performed very well, and we also got the opportunity to see Uzoho as our second goalkeeper, and you believe you have two goalkeepers who are doing extremely well.
Absolutely.
So I think so far so good. On the pitch, it's been fantastic with the result. Off the pitch, we've only heard good news from the FA, from the private sector, from the coach, and we can see what is transiting to on the pitch.
Okay, finally, you mentioned the goalkeeper. I was about coming to that. After that game against Guinea-Bissau, a lot of people were saying that Uzoho was more composed on the post than Okoye. And John Noble, the keeper from Enyimba, he has been talking. He said he is the best on penalties. And he is hoping, in case the game goes to penalties, that Eguavoen might substitute him to be the keeper for penalties. And the other guy who plays for Orlando Pirates, Daniel Akpeni, he's also experienced. He was our last keeper in the AFCON. So looking at that goalkeeping department, I think we are okay with that department.
Oh yes, I think definitely. But I would also, let's have sound a note of warning that let's not distract the players. If the coach feels that the number one choice should not be Uzoho, and then we can go with it. But it also then means that we have the complement of three top goalkeepers. Akpeyi plays in South Africa, is the number one goalkeeper. You have Uzoho, and let's not forget, even if he's so good at penalties, we used to have between Aneyama and Ajiboye.
That's right.
I think Dele
Ayenugba playing for
Enyimba
at the time, and at the point when there's a need to go into penalty kicks, Yama goes out, and you have the reserve goalkeeper who comes in and he saves the day. And through that, we're able to win back-to-back Champions League for Enyimba. So I think we should retain the status quo as is, and we have a young goalkeeper who's been doing well in his club. It also means that Uzoho needs to be able to establish himself more. Because I think the goalkeeping department for any club or any country in the world, it is extremely difficult for you to have the number one shirt because it is based on experience, minutes of play, and of course the fact that you've been able to save so many goals. And so I think we should retain the status quo. Hopefully, we would not need to ask Aguavon the question why this person is number one or this person is number two. Because so far, so good. They're doing well. And let's also remember that Uzoho came in a match where we had already qualified. Yes. So I think it was okay for him to blend and settle into the team confidently.
Okay, we spent so much time on Super Eagles. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, we'll deviate a bit and look at what is happening in the Australian Open. And also, we'll also go back to European scene to tell you the fixtures and the matches to look out for this weekend. You're still on to AFCON updates on Lagoon Sports and also on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria. We'll be right back. Keep listening to us.
We stand for Africa.
Yeah, yeah. Hola, hola, ole. Hola, hola, ole. Yeah, we stand at the cradle of our fathers. We came to win, we accept no defeat. We are young, we are strong, we are champions. We gonna rise up above the sea. Africa unite. Together as one. Celebrating African ways, African loving African people. African youth, African kings and African queens.
Africa est bonne, Africa est douce. Everybody come together as one, we'll rise. Africa tonight.
No, we go conquer. We stand for Africa. If we do all together, we sing for Africa. We go conquer. We stand for Africa. If we do it together, we sing for Africa. Africa unite. To get us now. Intahari nalial tasenandi. With our heritage and spirit that never dies, the African dream will always survive.
Ici c'est la terre sainte, la patrie des dieux, bienvenue sur la terre-mère. Le nord, le sud, embrasse l'est et l'ouest.
Radio.
Yes, sir, this is Lagoon Radio, and we are still here. Anosi Kechimeze is here, Bengabele is here, and Remy is still here, and we are giving you the updates on the AFCON, and also let's, like we told you, let's deviate a bit. Let's look at what is happening in Australia at the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open. Okay, Bengabele, this is where I come to you. The biggest news was the disqualification or in fact, the brouhaha around Djokovic, and he's no longer in the tournament.
Djokovic, unfortunately, I think is the architect of his own misfortune. And, you know, like Rafael Nadal said, you've got to be prepared to face the consequences of your own action. Australia is a difficult country to go to in terms of visa requirements, you know. If you watch, what's it called, this program that shows Border Force, Australia is about the country where you just don't just go. And with health issues such as COVID, you don't go there banding yourself as a non-vaxxer. I don't think that works anywhere. And, you know, I think the struggle was one that was just unfortunate for the competition. And I would have hoped that Djokovic would have managed this better than he did. You know, I think deservedly, he was thrown out of that. And unfortunately for him, you've got 20 Grand Slams. You're just on the verge of... And Australia is where he's succeeded the most. He's got about seven successes on that turf. So why would you just mess it up with this? What your belief is your belief. And, you know, if the sanction is the sanction, you've got to face it. But, you know, without deviating so much, I think it just throws Aussie Open on the men's stage. You've now got the young goons who are looking like the successors of the big three, the likes of Daniil Medvedev, Alex Zverev, Tsitsipas. Unfortunately, Dominic Thiem is not there. So between these three guys, and of course the old rugged Nadal is showing some grit at this stage. So it throws it open. I think between Medvedev, Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Nadal, we will have a winner. I am rooting for Nadal without a doubt.
Okay, Djokovic is out. Who are you rooting for?
Well, I think I wouldn't say I'm rooting for anyone, but I think I want to see the best.
Okay.
Between Medvedev, Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Nadal, because those three, apart from Nadal, look like the next set of people you should be looking at in terms of being Grand Slam champions in the mode of Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal, even though you're not sure they will have the same staying power. But I think the sad thing for the game is that organizers would have wanted the world number one player, Djokovic, but then the other players will be happy that he's not in this tournament anymore. Of course, like Benga said, yes, you're the architect of what happened, but then, well, we hope that he will be able to come to the next one if they rescind the 3-year ban.
We are not even sure because
the 3-year ban, and from what we hear, for the French Open, it is already being said that if you're not vaccinated, you are not likely to be part of that tournament. So I think he has a lot of retrospect and thinking to do. But then we've talked about the men. Of course, for the women, whilst we've said it's sad that Djokovic is not part of the tournament, the Williams sisters, unfortunately as well. But then for those who actually participated, you have the early exits, and you have Osaka, who people were starting to look at that she may have been able to get over some of the challenges that she had. She's out. Then, of course, Sloane Stephens, and you're also looking at Raducanu. So
Raducanu.
Yeah, so this means that the tournament is also open. Of course, the likes of Ashley Barty, Sabalenka, Muguruza, these are people who are likely to perform well.
And Halep.
Yes, and don't forget, Halep and Madison Keys are also still in the tournament. So it's open, and I think lovers of tennis should actually stay put. There's still something exciting to expect from the Australian Open.
From the women's perspective, it looks to me that home girl Ashley Barty, who is still basking in the euphoria of having won two Australian Opens. She's home girl, won another. I think it's the US. Recently, I think she looks more like the top favorite for me. Simona Halep, still struggles a bit, particularly when she's getting into that semi-finals. And there's an Arena Sabalenka also who's coming up. So between those three, I think we have something good to look forward to from the semi-final stages.
Okay, having said much on that, let's also concentrate on football now. But let me give you the update. The FIFA World Cup, the last phase of qualifiers the draws will be going down today. And in Pot 1, we have Senegal, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and Nigeria. And in Pot 2, Egypt, Cameroon, Ghana, Mali, and Congo Democratic Republic. Those in Pot 1 will be facing those in Pot 2. Okay, let's go down to the Premier League and see what happens this week. Yes, there is already a star match of the weekend. That's the London Derby, Chelsea versus Tottenham. I believe that's the biggest match in the EPL this weekend.
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, let's not forget that Chelsea beat Tottenham recently to qualify for the finals of the Carabao Cup. And, of course, I think that was after beating them 1-0 in the second leg. So it promises to be an exciting game. And, of course, the same Tottenham had come from a fantastic game that they played against Leicester just in the outgoing week. And they were able to grab the 3-pointer in the last 5 or 8 minutes of the injury time, which is something to look forward to. So it promises to be a super Sunday, Tottenham-Chelsea.
I also think Man United, West Ham later today is something to look. West Ham still occupies the 4th position, which Man U desperately covet at this time. And I want to believe that new coach, Ragnick, is looking at... because the truth is, you cannot discount West Ham at this point. They've shown some guile and some grit, holding up the 4th place for such a long time, half of the season. So it's something to look forward to, I believe.
And also the coach of West Ham going back to where he left before, David Moyes. And also the early kickoff, Everton, Gerrard doing wonders, returning to the Merseyside. Aston Villa, Everton. Everton at home.
Absolutely. That's in a couple of hours.
Okay.
And Everton coming without Benitez, who just lost his job.
Yes.
Interesting times ahead.
And in the Italian Serie A, we'll have another big match of the weekend. AC Milan versus Juventus.
The old lady, as it's called, it's a bit of what I'll call flip-flop in the Italian league. There's not been that consistency in the first four. It's been between Inter, Juventus, AC Milan. And, AC Milan, they will need a 3 point to go on top, and they fluff it to your Sassuolos and the rest of them. So, it's still in a state of flux, and I think we should just enjoy that flux for as long as it is.
Definitely.
Okay, and that's the size of the package this afternoon on AFCON Update. Thank you, Bengabelo, for coming through. And thank you, Rev'd, for coming also.
I had a great time.
Okay, tune in again next Saturday, 11 a.m., where we'll give you all the latest. By that time, we should have been heading to the semi-finals of the tournament. Yes, good luck to the Super Eagles. Till Saturday, when we come your way again, I am Manosike Chimezie. Keep listening to us and do have a lovely day.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Walele, walele, where you do? Walele, my brother, where you do? Walele, Obi Mikel, Captain, where you do? Walele, Iana Chokele, where you do? Walele, Ogeyonazi, Rogedo, where you do? Walele, Ahmed Musa Speedy, where you do?